Well, my own story with alcohol began all the way in 70s. I grew up in a typical Soviet Union family. I was born in 1974. And as early as 5 years old, I would remember my father, who was drunk almost every night, and my mother, who was crying almost every night. Directly or indirectly, she was constantly telling me about dangers of alcohol, preaching, complaining, and always telling Tanya, never marry a drunk. You'll never be able to change them. It's horrible. It ruins lives. It destroys families. And I grew up in the atmosphere of the fear towards alcohol, which was a really good thing, I think. And up to this point, I'm thanking my mother for taking her time and energy to steer me clear from alcohol. It was quite easy to stay sober in the Soviet Union because if you were to come to a typical grocery store and see the row of bottles available for sale, you would not want to drink any of them. Vodkas of the time and wines that were red wine and white wine usually were not just unsightly, they were disgusting. They just were not tasty. And you would not be lured into the world of alcohol by going to a fancy store like LCBO here in Ontario. Another unsightly thing was beer stands. We had them all over the city where men from the different buildings, from different houses, would come to socialize and to drink their sometimes 2 liter jugs of beer. Because 1/3 of this jug was usually a foam, and the foam was still rising. I remember because my father was attending those events. That's why I remember them. I remember men just smashing them on the side, and usually this foam would land on someone's sleeve, and you would see a man drinking this beer with the foam on his sleeve and being very, very unattractive looking. I bet they were urinating right there, maybe not right there, but around the corner somewhere, because there were no public washroom available. I don't know, for 2 hours, so much beer, they needed to go pee somewhere, and I guess they did it right maybe around that beer shed, where usually a very big fat woman would sit and just dispense this beer to all the people. Now, we also had something like ryumachная. Ryumka, that's a shot glass in Russian, and ryumachная is some place where people supposed to come and just have a shot glass of vodka, I guess. What else? And of course, nobody just did one glass. People were getting pissed drunk, and the site was unsightly, unwelcoming. The ryumachная or shot glass parlor, how I would translate it to English, they were usually located on the semi-basement level of some gloomy building, and we have all these people around that you would not want to see, especially women. I kept thinking that look at pretty much any drunk man, they would have some chance because some adventurous and crazy woman can pick them up for the lack of men in the Soviet Union and try to make some good man out of a drunk. But alcoholic women would have no such chance, because there are a lot of healthy and energetic women out there. No man would want to take care of a liability like this, but also women lose looks and lose beauty so quickly due to alcohol, and I don't think it's redeemable with any effort whatsoever, which is sad. I'm thankful to this part of my timeline that really instilled this fear towards alcohol and even disgust towards it. But I had an older sister, and my sister is 10 years older. And when I was just born, my sister was already a person, because when you're 10 in the Soviet Union, you take public transit independently, you go shopping, your parents give you chores, you already have some social status, you are something like 18, 20 in the West when you're 10. So she had quite a character, and she was my goddess. absolute authority. She could do no wrong. And I was like a puppy following her everywhere. And I wanted to be like her. I wanted to have things like she had. I wanted to follow every action she was taking. So she was this for me. And when I was in my early teens, my glorious sister was already married. She had her own apartment, own car, even own child. And I was coming quite frequently to help her with house chores, with babysitting, and of course, I could have a glimpse of her wonderful life. She married young, and her husband and she were entrepreneurial, very hardworking, creative, and amazing networkers. They had all these interesting people around them. They were funny, they were intelligent, and they had booze, and this booze was different. Well, I the first time I saw French champagne and French cognac and all these wines was exactly in her home and in the restaurant where she would take me. My first glass of champagne actually happened at the picnic on, I think, Gulf of Finland, maybe, with all her friends that had their own cars already. And having your own car in the Soviet Union was like having a plane in the West. So these were the avant-garde of the society. And alcohol, ever since, was something chic, something glamorous, something that signifies success and place in the society, and something wonderful. So I learned that there is bad alcohol, those shot glass parlors and unattractive beer stands, and there's also good alcohol where you are in a civilized setting in a beautiful restaurant with a glassware with beautiful bottles and da 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 da. I'm surprised I didn't drink more. I guess that was because I was working during the day and I was studying during the night. I was, as we call it, evening student, and my studies were from 6 to 9 and I was working from 8 to 5, so I was busy lady. It all started on a casual basis only when I came to Canada. And when I came to Canada, I lived with my glorious sister for about 2 years, and alcohol was abundant, and it was good alcohol, expensive. And I have to admit that expensive alcohol might be more dangerous than just regular alcohol, because it took a lot of years for those winemakers, cognac makers, to mask the ugly and unattractive taste of ethanol and make it taste like some whiskey's taste and some brandy's taste, smooth, velvety, nutty, and all these descriptions to the taste. It all adds up to that selling appeal of the alcohol. So here in the West, when you expose that as amazing quality alcohol, it's a double danger. First, you're spending way more money on it, $70 a bottle, $100 a bottle, just easy like this. You also have this amazing taste that adds to the appeal of the alcohol. So I started drinking quite regularly here in Canada, couple of glasses of wine at dinner, or almost always a glass of wine at lunch, and here we go, 3/4 of a bottle just on a regular day. And this gradually became my habit. I was this functional drunk that never misses work and kind of looked okay because I was exercising, taking walks, eating more or less healthy. So it wasn't really showing. And bit by bit, I was increasing my drinking slowly but surely. So eventually, I got such a high tolerance that I wasn't even getting any buzz. And I remember being 40, maybe even earlier than that, 38, 39. I would sit with a bottle of wine, usually here in my office, watching YouTube. Well, maybe not YouTube, but watching a movie or reading internet, and just having casually my glass of wine without thinking much about it. And then I thought, okay, $20, $25, I'm not even getting drunk by drinking this. Is it worth it? And I had some attempts to replace this drinking habitually with Pellegrino or some nice sparkling wine, just trying to give myself the same sensation. Sometimes at work, I really, up to age 40, 42, never thought that it was any kind of a problem. It all started when I quit my job at CIBC and started promoting my practice, working for myself, and that involved going to different places, taking different courses, meeting different people. One of those courses was actually a course about food. It was held by amazing person, Rose Turcio, who taught us about fundamentals of healthy eating, cooking, storing food, organizing your kitchen. She had this holistic approach to nutrition, not just, okay, this is the science of how you consume carbohydrates and proteins and it was it was given to us from lifestyle perspective, how you cook, how you store food, how you organize your kitchen, what kind of knives you have to have, where do you shop, how do you get food. It was amazing, and she became my role model, my goddess. And for the very first time in my life, my sister's image was replaced by the new person who I had found adorable. I wanted to do everything she was telling us to do. I wanted to gain her respect, recognition, and I was following all of the steps she was giving us, how to eat healthy and stay healthy. On the very first day of the course, a woman in the class raised a question. She asked, well, what kind of wine would you suggest? And at what time of the day? That was the question. And Rose said, wine? What wine? Alcohol has no place in a healthy nutrition. And she explained us how liver is being abused by extracting toxins out of the alcohol you just consumed instead of dealing with the food. And that stuck in my mind up to this point that, oh yeah, if you hear about the liver in a sciencey way, you may not clue in what is really going on. But she explained it in a layman's terms. If your liver is busy with alcohol, it's not dealing with the food, and food goes to fat, and on top of it, alcohol that is getting through your liver, somehow liver makes fat out of it too. And that alone was enough for me not to drink. I was like this pioneer girl doing everything our teacher was recommending, suggesting, and because I wanted to be good, I wanted to be recognized. And 2 months later, I realized that I started losing weight. And for years, I was so burdened by that extra weight I actually gained in Canada in the very first year I arrived here. And I thought I could never understand what was wrong with me. I was exercising, I was hiking, I was eating kind of okay, never ate processed food. But this very act of staying sober was actually helping me to shed weight. And of course, I started exercising more because I was getting more energy, and I got motivated because I looked better. I was at that point of my life single. I was looking for a man of my dreams, so that helped to be slimmer and to be more attractive. Let's be honest, that plays a big role. So I did like my new image, my new me, and ever since I'm quite aware of the benefits of not drinking. But that doesn't mean I stayed sober all along. There were times that I would stay sober for a year, and then I would come. Usually that was always coinciding with meeting my glorious sister, who would always treat me with the best champagne and always offer me nice wine. So I would think, okay, I'll just drink a little bit with her, socialize with her. But then on my own time, I would continue even when the socializing is over. I'm back to my home, I'm back to my routine, and I would be drinking again. Then I would quit, then I would drink, and it was on and off for about 10 years. 5 years ago, I met Steven, and we made a commitment to each other that we'll stay as healthy as possible for each other and as wealthy as possible. And we decided that alcohol has to be abandoned. But the problem with alcohol that it increases that it gives you this excitement, and then you kind of get hooked on it and you want to repeat the excitement, and every time you have to drink more and more and more for less and less and less. And we all know how a glass of wine here and there becomes a bottle of wine, and then maybe even something harder than that. At this time, 2025 March, we are not drinking since the beginning of February. Very happy and hoping that that would stay the way it is, because so much happens when you stop drinking. Let me list 12 reasons why we are quitting alcohol. Pretty much all of them are immediate benefits. Your immunity is better, so you're less likely to fall sick with all these seasonal infections. Number two, quality of sleep. And this is even more so important to me now during the menopause. I get way better sleep. I almost don't have any sweats and hot flashes when I have zero alcohol in my system. So that's a biggie. That sleep, that baby kind of quality sleep is gold. And I totally see the trade-off, that quitting, ditching alcohol to be able to sleep well. Number three, state of skin. Skin is better. And I experimented with my skin by using most expensive creme de la mer skin routine and drinking. I would not look as good as not drinking and using something more affordable, maybe $100 a jar rather than $1,000 a jar. So not only your skin is better, you're also saving money by not having to buy expensive skincare products. Number four, I like this glow in the eyes we get pretty much after 2-3 weeks of not drinking, and it gets better and better. So you exude enthusiasm, you exude life. Number five, liver. Liver is not just responsible for liver itself, but it's your weight and it's your face. When your toxins are not processed properly, they probably go all over the place, and you don't want that. Number six is gut. It's also like liver, responsible for more than just its own thing. It's also your weight, it's also your appearance. Number seven, sex, libido. Not only sex is way better when you're sober because you can feel it, your sensors are more acute to sensation and pleasures, but it also libido. When you look better, you feel more confident. Your partner who doesn't drink with you is more attractive, and you are more attractive to your partner. So I think that should not be dismissed, that this mutual attraction is more intense when you look better, and you look better when you don't drink. Number eight, you have more time for everything, for life. But here's the danger. Some people have this time and they don't know what to do with it because they don't have any silly hobbies and things that are enjoyable. For many years, I would not understand what it is to just read a book. This book has to be about self-improvement, it has to be about productivity, it has to be about some new computer program or economics. No, it doesn't. It can be just enjoyable, something that you flat out like to do. And it doesn't have to be productive all the time. And not drinking opens up the whole, usually afternoon and evening, to do something that before was hazy and not really there. But be careful, line up those hobbies and activities way in advance so that when this time rolls in, you're busy doing those nice, charming things rather than just opening the bottle of wine and drinking. By the way, since I got this glass, I'm kind of missing wine aesthetics, and what helps me a lot is to get a glass like this, and it just gives me that sense of drinking that I was enjoying while drinking wine. The reason number 10, as I briefly mentioned, is alcohol is a depressant. You may think it raises your endorphins and dopamine and make you more excited. It does, and that's why we get hooked. Absolutely, it does. But it's short, freaking lived, and you need more and more and more to get less and less and less. And this is where we end up in the darkness, or we are heading towards this darkness and spend crazy amount of money on this every month. Alcohol is a depressant, and I could never really clue in why I'm feeling so bad, period, why I'm feeling so bad. And now I know that it actually takes 48 hours, it's kind of a lagging effect, to feel crappy. So you had your wine or champagne on Saturday, maybe Sunday, and you feel bad on Monday. It's not because it's Monday, but because it's this 24 to 48 hours after you had your last alcohol. And then you think, oh God, I feel bad. I can't wait for Thursday or Friday when I can have my next drink. Maybe I wouldn't even wait for it. Maybe I'll have it now, and we know what happens. Alcohol is a depressant. I cry more often, and Steven shared with me that he even feels suicidal when he drinks beer every night. So instead of helping you to deal with sadness, it's actually the one that's causing it. Number 11, brain functions way better, and I'm not even going to quote you statistics on risk of dementia. It actually clouds your brain, and you slowly becoming dumber and dumber and dumber. Here's again the danger. After several months of not drinking, when you start thinking clearly, when you see things clearly, you may end up not liking a lot of what you see clearly. You may not like the job you are at, you may not like how your business performs, you may not like your adult child still living in your basement, you may not like a lot of things. And guys, it's so much easier to mask it with a glass of Chardonnay, because it all kind of disappears. And dealing with the challenges, that takes a lot of courage. So yes, I see it as a huge advantage that your brain is recovering. Experts say it takes 7 to 8 months, I would say a year, when you're back on track. But the recovery starts almost right away when you start seeing things clearly. And you may not like what you see, and that's why I think a lot of people who are able to stay sober actually choose to drink again, so they don't have to deal with this and just be in their own little la la land. And the last and main reason, one of the main reasons, is more money. More money, and when you have more money, you have more choices, you have more security, you can do more things. You can do charity, you can give this money to people you like, you can spend it on yourself, you can sleep well, not worrying about stock market up and down. You just know you have money in the bank and you are safe.